to another episode of Beyond the Black Rims. I'm Mars Girl.
I'm Josh Knight the First.
This is Season 4, Episode 15.
Or Episode 85 if you're counting.
And thanks for being here, everybody. Good to see you guys here. How are we coming through to you guys? Are we coming through nice? It seems like everybody seems to be hearing us okay, which is good, because we were playing around with the audio, and it looked like it might not be good, but it sounded okay, so I think
we're doing good. The sound's up at the beginning of the show. You didn't already load our first story on the screen at the end of the show. At the beginning of the show.
Oops. I want to say thanks, as always, to our Patreon contributors.
Yes.
The names have shuffled a little bit around this episode, but it's mostly people who have been contributing, as always, so thank you guys very, very much. You guys keep the show running every single week, and we really appreciate it, and we're looking forward to bringing you more stuff. Anything else that we want to bring up? What's going on?
What is going on? Some places started selling Avengers Age of Ultron tickets, so I'm already like, who's coming with me? Who's coming with me? Opening night showings. I'm ready. Because that's, can we let the candy cane thing drop? I say one thing about Oblina the one time, people, I was a kid. I didn't know things any better.
It's alright.
I'll talk about something else. We got something else to talk about. So we were up in Dallas, 2 weeks ago now, right?
What were we there? Oh yeah, that
doing the
sing-along.
Cartoon intro sing-along. And as such, it being up north in Dallas, north of here in San Antonio, the north and the northeast get a lot more things in stores quicker than we do down here.
San Antonio doesn't get crap.
Yeah, we don't get crap.
Not for a long time, anyway.
So we hit up one of the Walmarts and Targets around there, and we found some guns that finally got to us, which we've got here.
And now these ones that we have here are of the Rebel line, but I think they're pretty friggin' sweet. The one I'm holding right now is a slingshot, and it's pretty accurate slingshot-y action. You know, you pull this back, and it is just a cord. It doesn't lock like the guns do, and then you fire, and pew!
And it goes pretty far.
Just let it go and it flies. So I like it. I like it quite a bit.
Now, the thing about it is, I haven't bought myself a Rebel gun. Usually I stick with the Zombie line or the N-Strike Elite, the Mega line, things like that. But this time I couldn't resist this little guy right here. And,
little guy?
Well, girl, whatever. Either way, it's a good gun. That's my
gender roles.
Whatever. Point being, this thing is compact. It's about the size of a cell phone. Like, I have my cell phone right here. Matches up almost exactly, about that size. There's a little button right here. It looks like nothing right now. Then you just kind of push the button, flick your wrist, and it becomes fully loaded. Oh, sorry. I got you with the ricochet there. But this thing's pretty...
You jackass!
Whatever, you knew that was going to happen.
No, I did not.
I brought out guns. What are you going to do? Point being, this is a pretty sweet, compact... concealable weapon here, and, folds back up almost just as easily. Boom, carry it in your pocket. This thing is great.
I'm really excited about the one. I really wanted to get it. It looked like a purse, and then it just goes, and then it's this...
It's a little pump
action thing. I really want it.
It's kind of sweet. Yeah, it looks like a little pretty pink purse, but yeah, it folds out into a kind of a pump action sawed-off there, so yeah, I actually highly recommend this. I mean, I plan on... Yeah, painting it a cooler color, purple's not really my thing. Go with more of the N-Strike blue.
Either way, it's a perfectly functional... This is what I'm saying about the Rebel line. They're fantastic little blasters.
They are pretty good blasters, especially this one. If they made this for the Guy line and say, oh, it's a spy gun, these would fly off the shelves. It was only like $10.
Yeah.
Both of these actually were only like $10.
Exactly, yeah.
So, yeah, absolutely. Props to the Rebel line yet again. You're doing it, and... There's really not a problem with the gun. Hardly at all.
No, not even.
Like, are you going to complain about the color after you get shot in the neck with it? No, you're going to complain that you got shot in the neck and you let yourself get shot in the neck.
You shot it at my computer, which don't do that again, and
Sorry.
2, it ricocheted and hit me in the neck.
Well, see, I was aiming over the top of the laptop and then it didn't make it, so my bad?
Yeah, you're bad.
Okay, my bad.
All right. So I guess we should talk about our stories that we're going to be discussing here in a little bit.
Full 3 stories here to talk to you guys about tonight.
This is never something we want to really... We never really enjoy covering anything like this, and we've done it a number of times, but we do want to talk a little bit about Leonard Nimoy, who passed away earlier this past week. who had a very full life, and as everyone has been saying, he did in fact live long and did indeed prosper, and so we'll just remember him, for a bit, which I think is the best thing we can do.
Our second story of the evening is going to be surprising everybody today. There was a new Rock Band game announced.
Although there were rumors of it happening.
Yeah, there were rumors, but I didn't take them seriously, and now...
I did, because I got one of their surveys. But we'll talk about that. Yeah. We'll talk about that as it comes up. And then finally, we're ending on something that I'm feeling somewhat positive and somewhat weary of, is a Secret of NIMH movie, which, if I'm to be fair, it's not Secret of NIMH, it's Miss Frisbee and the...
Mrs. Frisbee.
No, it's Ms. Frisbee.
No, it's Mrs.
Where? Where's the...
Look, I've got it right here in the notes. Just give me 2 seconds to pull it up. It's Mrs.
Okay, you're right.
Mrs.
It's Mrs.
Frisbee.
Based on the novel, Mrs. Frisbee and the Rats of NIMH.
I know, because I had to read that in 4th grade.
You actually had to read it?
I had to read it.
Because I had to read Animal Farm.
I read Animal Farm in middle school.
But it was a required reading, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so something with animals that kind of talked.
No, we're talking about Mrs. Frisbee. You're thinking of Miss Frizzle. Those are two different question here.
What? Oh, the teacher from the magic school. Yeah, no.
One's a talking rat, the other one's a teacher.
So there's possibility for differences between these two movies, as one is... I'm assuming this next movie is probably going to be based more on the novelization.
More than likely.
So we'll talk more about that as that time comes up in a little bit. But before that, I guess we have some follow-ups?
We've got quite a few follow-ups. So, right to start off with, people yesterday were able to tweet at the Avengers Age of Ultron account to go ahead and unlock the newest trailer a little earlier before it could be viewed on ABC, because that seems to be the trend nowadays. If we're going to show something on ABC, the people at large in the internet, anywhere on Earth, will do anything to not have to watch it on ABC. That way we can watch it in the comfort of our homes, on our laptops, cell phones, what have you. And so the trailer was released about a day early. We've got finally our first look in motion of the Vision at the end of the trailer. It's only a little bit of him going, and that's it.
Visioning,
yes. Achieving vision. But for the most part, people are getting a little more hype for this. Like I said at the beginning, sales have begun. Pre-sales for tickets for the movie, which is really a little less than 2 months from now.
Mm-hmm. So I'm real excited.
Really, Vision is my reason for going to see this movie, because a lot of people, and myself included, are a little upset about what they've done to Ultron, but the Vision, I'm a little more okay with. I want to see what they do with him. Everybody who's talked about it says, oh, Paul Bettany's incredible. He did such an amazing job. He's just as uncomfortable as we are working on this. Robert Downey Jr. talking about him having to be hooked up to wires for all the different stunts there as well.
I'm kind of glad that this trailer, this most recent trailer for Age of Ultron, did not feature more Pinocchio got no strings on me stuff going on.
That was nice. I appreciated that too, because I was getting a little sick of it.
I was a little sick of it. Like, at first I was like, I get it. So now you're owned by Disney and now you can do that. And the way you did it was kind of creepy. Alright. Okay, you don't have to keep reminding me that Disney bought you. Okay, thanks. Like, it really felt shoehorned, like, alright, how can we put the two things together now that we've finally done it and achieved Major Gatai? Like, I'm just like, that's okay.
Like when you have giraffe money, you use giraffe money. When you have access to the House of Mouse, you use the access to the House of Mouse. I'm surprised we haven't seen Mickey in a Mark 48 armor. Hey guys, I'm helping out. Unibeam. That's the last thing I need to think about before I go to sleep tonight is
Unibeam.
Unibeam. Oh man, I didn't need that. But yes, very much looking forward to the movie coming out. We also got just the other day a comparison little video put up on YouTube. Final Fantasy Type 0 comparing the graphics in the PSP version to the now HD version that we're getting on the PS4.
It's substantial. I mean, you ask me, it still looks like, yeah, you used to be PSP graphics, but at the same time, it was noticeable. Way more noticeable, I think, than the difference between Final Fantasy X and X-2's upscaling to HD. Like, it was okay, and yet sometimes the HD for Final Fantasy X looked more jittery than its original 2001 PS2 version. I don't know how that's possible. Square Enix, why you do.
Yes.
But, I have to admit I'm relatively enthusiastic to play Type 0 HD because it actually, like, as I'm looking at, and I've looked at trailers before when I thought, oh, well, there's a game we're never gonna get over here, and then they did it. It actually has a lot of Final Fantasy elements in it. Very classic Final Fantasy elements, except for not turn-based style fighting. There's some menu stuff, but it's very action-y. Same old classic summons you always know, and magic users and monsters, classic monsters and stuff.
One of the major differences now is, aside from the upscaling, they've eliminated the use of multiplayer.
Yeah, because you used to be able to do multiplayer ad hoc, local wireless gameplay, and that's no longer there, and that's kind of disappointing. So, seeing as how this is, aside from that, seeing as how this is a spin-off, and yet it retains Final Fantasy elements in it, maybe it doesn't necessarily need the Final Fantasy theme, maybe it's okay that it's an M-rated game. As a spin-off, I'm like, nah, it's fine, it'll probably be a good game. I almost feel like maybe I would have accepted 13 better if I thought 13 was a spin-off.
Yeah, I guess I can kind of see that.
But not as a linear title. Because they've designated it as a spin-off and not part of it's not trying to be Final Fantasy 13 anymore, then I can finally be like, no, now I can just think of it as a game and not shoehorn it into linear numeric Final Fantasy.
I get that.
That's how I feel.
So, in another follow-up, we had a little more news regarding this upcoming Superhero Taisen Kamen Rider 3, a small snippet of a music video for the title song, well, not really the title song, just the image song that they're releasing for the movie, Who's That Guy, sung by the actor.
Still the stupidest name for a song.
Well, yeah, because that's the joke everybody seems to be making. Who's that guy? You mean the thing I actually thought when you announced there was another writer other than V3? Like, who is this? Now, admittedly, and I've said this and I won't make any qualms about it, on a very foundational level, I am opposed to the idea of Kamen Rider 3. Having said that, I hate the fact that I think the song is freaking catchy.
No, the song is great, but the music video, or the PV, the promotional video, as they call it, is real stupid. Like you got evil baddies from Shocker all dressed up in black and dancing in a rave nightclub along with the vocalist for the song, and then Kamen Rider 3 shows up.
Well, him in suit, because they're actually, I noticed from the last press conference, I think they're actually letting him wear the suit for a fair portion, which is always nice, but even then, it's like, you've got these guys basically wearing lucha masks and all black spandex, being like,
yeah, they look so stupid. I hate that music video. Like, I'm looking at it right now.
But the song is catchy, and I hate that I like it.
No, the song is fine. You're allowed to like the song,
I know,
and not like
the
material that it's coming from.
Yeah, it's just hard to separate the two.
Similarly, there were things that I liked about previous recent Kamen Rider series, but I didn't have to like Kamen Rider girls.
No, I hate
vice versa, enjoying the material the song came from, but not liking the song. Like, you're allowed to like them as
that's fair enough.
Think of them as two separate properties.
In addition to that, there are going to be web movies released, as mentioned before, featuring a Kamen Rider under the name Kamen Rider 4. And now we've learned that the voice actor for Kamen Rider 4 is actually Mitsuru Matsuoka, who sings the opening theme for Drive.
Oh, good for him.
And this wouldn't be the first time he's been a writer. Notably, he was Kamen Rider Eternal in the Kamen Rider double movie, and then the spin-off Eternal only movie. Mm-hmm. So this guy gets around a little bit in writerdom.
So I'll just usually, again, we don't reach out to the chat during this to specify about Kamen Rider girls. Now there are female Kamen Riders, but separately, this is a band that Toei organized for themselves, and they all released albums on the label Avex, and
basically think of an idol group, all-girl idol group, and they're wearing rider belts.
Yeah, well, they kind of look like they're dressed like common riders.
Very minimal.
But like you suggest, yes, they are kind of skimpy. So real super short shorts, little bit of cleavage. Maybe there's a muffler flapping somewhere.
Yeah, well, usually they would have that at least, but even then, that's a whole nother argument.
Yeah, so that is to show that there are, in fact, both of those things you asked. Both female common writers and a series of girls wearing skimpy clothing and singing songs. So those are two completely different things.
Moving on to other news, of course, we've been keeping up with all Star Wars news, all manner of Star Wars news, whether it be for Rebels or the upcoming Episode 7. As far as Rebels is concerned, we've actually learned this week that Sarah Michelle Gellar has signed on to the show in an undisclosed role. It's a little interesting to note that, of course, she is married to Freddie Prinze Jr., who currently plays Kanan on the show. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of interesting seeing them working together as well. A lot of people are speculating, oh, what if she's playing a teenage Leia? That would be sweet. And admittedly, yeah, Rebels is kind of knocking it out of the park, being, for me...
Rebels has been pretty good, you know?
For me, like, Clone Wars is good, but it never gripped me.
I never liked Clone Wars.
The writing got better.
I liked Tartakovsky's
yes.
short series.
That's right, but Rebels is just being friggin' amazing with the way they're actually managing...
I don't know about amazing, but I
think it's amazing.
Legitimately enjoy it. I enjoy it, and I need to catch up.
Yes.
Saw that whole first half before their break, and then... the one where Yoda's voice showed up.
Yeah, and then there have been even more older actors returning and newer characters regarding the newer episodes, but we're not going to talk about that right this second. Mm-hmm. But that, of course, is pertaining to Rebels. As far as Episode 7 is concerned, you remember a while back, filming was put on hold for maybe about 2 weeks because Harrison Ford sprained his ankle.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's a good thing they're not filming anymore because, unfortunately, Harrison Ford was just in a plane crash. We're now learning.
Oh my god. But yeah, this apparently just happened today, which for you YouTube viewers is later, or earlier. Or something. And he seems to be fine. They said he was in critical condition but walked away, and now he's in stable condition.
And his son had just tweeted earlier that he's a little banged up, but he's good now. So everybody calm down. He's all right.
But he's been noted to be... he flies his own personal aircraft.
Yes.
And so he was flying his own personal aircraft. We have no idea what happened to cause him to crash, but he made a crash landing at a golf course.
Yes.
Which I guess would have been the safest place for him to crash, really.
Yeah.
Relatively open space.
He landed on the belly of the plane, so he was right side up.
It looked like it was in a head-on collision with another vehicle is what it really kind of looked like.
Well, we'll get more information on that probably to share with you guys as of next week. But for the time being, the thing we need to take away is that he's fine.
He's fine.
He's fine.
He's fine. He's scratched up. He was bleeding a little bit. But he's fine.
Yes. Okay, moving on to other news. We've got more information on the Supergirl show that's going to CBS. They've officially started working on the pilot. Mm-hmm. And we also find that they've cast former actors from other, Supergirl, Superman adaptations. We found that Helen Slater, who famously played the role in the original Supergirl movie, has been cast, and Dean Cain, who played Clark Kent and Superman on Lois and Clark for several years, has also been cast in an undisclosed role. Mm-hmm. So, it worked for the Flash, casting people who worked on a previous iteration of the character, and that's working out great for them. And since we've got a similar showrunner working over here, I trust the casting. It's nice when you can give a role to somebody and be like, you know what? We recognize that you did something over here. We're going to give you another job.
Yeah, I think that's fair. To recognize perhaps you're too old for the same old role you used to play, but we can still put you back and acknowledge, hey, you did a thing as this character, and we want to make that nod.
Yes. That's very much appreciated. Mm-hmm. And then the last thing in the follow-ups would be a little more information about the Power Rangers...
Power/Rangers.
Yes, fan film that we covered previously. Of course, as we mentioned, Saban has been going after every single copy available on YouTube to be taken down. And Adi Shankar, who created the movie, said a couple of things to the extent of, they're violating my freedom of expression. We all need to fight for the future of the internet, things of that nature. But really, it all comes down to, dude, you're mad your movie got taken down.
Well, yeah, because here's the thing that upsets me, right? It's that he's not completely wrong, but he's definitely twisting it in such a way to
gain sympathy, I think.
Yeah, to really, he's really being whiny about it, the way this paragraph is presented. We're reading this on AnimeNewsNetwork.com right now, which I'm sure you can read a number of
I'll go
other
ahead
places.
and link it, that doesn't matter.
But he's very upset with Saban, and, really, Saban is stomping on my rights and the rights of people to be able to make parodies and blah, blah, blah. Perhaps if you read it, maybe read a sentence or two of it, and people might understand.
Okay, well, he says things like, I set out to make this film because I am a childhood fan of the Power Rangers. Incorrect, because last week when the story was initially being covered, he said he was not a fan. And he had to ask other people about it, so now you're changing your story. That's one thing. I love this little part. Films like my Power Rangers bootleg are vital expressions of creativity in our troubled world. If we suppress this creativity and become passive participants in the consumption of the culture we live in, we implicitly allow a dangerous precedent to be set for the future of the internet. And it's like, dude, that's a little far to go.
It's a little far to go. Really, it's just Saban being douchebags. Like, get mad at Saban. You know,
like, you don't have to extra victimize yourself, you know?
Yeah. I think we can all sit here and safely say, no, you're right, Saban was douches, as they typically are. You know, that's easy. He doesn't have to make more of a case for himself, you know?
You don't have to stand up on the soapbox while playing in the background. Like, we get it. So, yeah, that'll handle all of our follow-ups for the week.
Yeah.
So that'll take us to our first story.
Yeah, so, again, this isn't really a direction we ever want to go in. But, so, as you can see, this story is, in fact, about Leonard Nimoy, who passed away, less than a week ago at this point, at the age of 83, was due to a respiratory...
chronic obstructive pulmonary disease.
Yeah, which he, would very frequently contribute to his past bad smoking habits, which I think only in 2014 did he really come out and say, yes, this is the disease that I have. Guys, don't smoke. Like, friggin' don't do it. Oh my god, don't do it. Like, within his last 1 to 2 weeks of life, he even tweeted again, I smoked once. I really wish I hadn't. You know, I think he knew it was coming. I think from the series of tweets he was giving off within his last week or so, that became really apparent. The way he talked about comparing life to a garden, existing only in one's memory after a while. And of course, I'm paraphrasing at that point, but it was like, wow, how he knew. Like, I think that was even a tweet from his hospital.
Yeah.
So I think that's a very poignant sort of thing to say to the millions of people who follow you.
Millions upon millions of fans in general, because, you know, let's not kid ourselves, most of us know Leonard Nimoy because he came to fame on Star Trek as Mr. Spock. And for most people that you talk to who are fans of, you know, the original run there created by Gene Roddenberry, Spock was the character that drew people in more so than Kirk, more so than Chekhov, than anybody else. Spock brought him in that role is at the least iconic.
Yeah, well, I think it's really interesting because Roddenberry, of course, was the creator and the writer, but the more you look into it, it becomes really clear just how much input Nimoy had on the creation of the characterization of Spock.
Yes, absolutely.
And it's interesting to note that in the pilot episode, which later got used in the actual TV series and broken into 2 parts, the 2-parter, the Menagerie Part 1 and the Menagerie Part 2, you can see kind of a wildly differently characterized
He's a little
Spock.
louder.
He's louder, he's a little bit more expressive, he doesn't have any specific mannerisms other than that really kind of point to him being alien. And yet, he's the only guy who went on from that pilot to make it into the main leading cast of the actual TV series. I think Roddenberry's wife was in that pilot too, and she went on to become one of the nurses.
But she went on as a different character.
Yeah, she went on as an entirely different character, playing a completely different role. And only Nimoy stayed on, and then the entire rest of the cast is the cast that we know now. And this characterization was such a smart characterization, because it's like, well, we need to create this guy who looks like the devil. They frequently were like, he needs to look like Satan, like cartoon characterizations of Satan with pointy ears and really kind of evil looking eyebrows, and yet his behavior is that of one with little to no emotion at all. And then to be half Vulcan, this alien that tries not to emote, and half human, and to give this character these opportunities to allow humanity to come out of him, that's where people would start to grasp on, like no, Spock, you can feel these things, it's okay, and you start to find yourself feeling human along with him.
Well, because the thing is, the way Roddenberry created him, he was commentary on what it meant to be human, what it's like to share in the human experience. You see something akin to that, but not exact, with a character like, say, Data in The Next Generation. Mm-hmm. But he's that same kind of guy where he's a little bit removed from humanity, but as such, he's learning about what it means to be human, what it means to take part in humanity.
Similarly, the holographic doctor who shows up in Voyager, who kind of is there on the cusp of humanity, not humanity. There's a number of characters that, like, they repeatedly come up like that, because I feel like they felt like each set of cast members in each separate TV series needed a piece of what the original had.
Yeah.
And really, Nimoy hit the nail on the head, and with his mannerisms, with the creation of the Vulcan salute
and the Vulcan neck pinch.
And the neck pinch, and the idea of live long and prosper. These were all things that Nimoy brought into the role, not necessarily Roddenberry writing it in for him.
Because, you know, he had that kind of rapport with him, like, hey, I think Spock would be more believable if he did this. And so, you know, he brings in the neck pinch, he works it over with Shatner, and then, yeah, they do it on the show, Shatner sells it, boom, you see people doing it to this day, you know. You remember Spaceballs, friggin', it comes in clearly. What are you trying to do?
Hey, what are you doing?
The Vulcan neck pinch?
No, you got it all wrong. It's way too low. It needs to be up here where the shoulder meets the neck.
Here?
Like this?
Like this?
Yeah!
Yeah. And then you think about it, though, too, it's not just the fact that he had a good rapport with Roddenberry and was able to contribute. He's actually taking some personal pieces of himself and putting him into Spock. He remarked several times that during the course of the show, there were times where he couldn't tell where Spock ended and he began, you know, thus leading to the whole thing, oh, I am not Spock, and then eventually coming to the truth, no, I am Spock.
But yeah, well, it was this whole dichotomy. He gets stopped in an airport one day by this mother and this little girl, and she tries to introduce him as, look, honey, it's Spock, and he's like, I'm not Spock. Like, he's got this idea in his head, I'm Leonard Nimoy, introduce me as Leonard Nimoy.
Yeah.
At which... if I'm to be honest, in a way, I kind of get. I always kind of, once I started doing stuff on the internet, I started understanding this idea of the dichotomy between being Mars Girl and being Kalen, you know, and how different people in different social groups see me and see who I am. And then learning that you can also embrace both of them and be okay with being both of them at the same time.
And he eventually came to that conclusion that, yeah, you know what, I can be both and be known as both, you know, Leonard Nimoy the actor and, of course, Spock the character. Famously, you know, you guys heard the theme we played there before we started the show. That was the theme from the 2009 Star Trek reboot, and, of course, he's the only character to cross over from the original series into those, and he's really the tie that binds there, you know, for people who are like, oh, I'm not gonna like this thing, it's too new. Well, there's Spock for you. He's right there telling you it's okay.
Yeah.
You know,
it did feel comforting in a way. Like, no, it's alright. You're allowed to like this. It's different, but different isn't bad.
Yes.
There were things I did not necessarily like about it, but then there were things I did like about it, and mostly Prime Spock's appearance helped in that.
Oh, absolutely.
It's of course important that we don't just talk about him as Spock. It's just that clearly Spock, I think, is one of the most relevant things to this show, and as well as what just throttled him into stardom, of course. I mean, it was by no means his first role. He was doing smaller acting roles before that.
The unfortunate thing that some people, very quickly figured out is that, he was Xehanort in Kingdom Hearts, and he was kind of being set up.
Birth by Sleep in 3D, Triple D, as I always call it, Dream Drop Distance.
And people are like, we were going to get more of him in Kingdom Hearts 3, right? And it's like, well...
Possible, but not necessarily
Probably
anymore.
not anymore.
The character, of course, still has to stay. I mean, what are they going to do?
Well, they got to figure something out.
Yeah. He did, a number of narrations and video game stuff, to not mention Seaman, especially
Yeah, we see a lot of people here in the chat talking about Seaman.
Well, I can't remember how many times Seaman has come up in conversation, oh my god, it was the creepiest thing, and it was narrated by Leonard Nimoy, and then you grew this thing, and then it became a fish with a face, and then what am I doing? I'm raising this thing, it's just, and I had to talk to it? What? I have no idea, but it was kind of its own very strange little social experiment.
But as such, having lost him last week, the outpouring of love and support to both his family and from, people on the internet, far and wide, his co-stars, is just amazing to see, because it's been nothing, from everything I looked at, it's been nothing but a positive outpouring of, it means something to me. He brought something to my life in that role, in that outlook on things, that I could be more logical, more cool and collected than I normally would be. Plenty of people telling those stories on Tumblr, on Facebook, on Twitter about, no, this character is more than just a character. He's somebody to me. He's almost like family.
Well, he was such a prolific photographer and artist, too, who constantly was trying to show... beauty in everything, and in lots of different things that you don't typically find beauty in, and whereas a lot of social situations would say that, for example, how much body weight you carry means something, he would frequently do photo shoots with obese women, and they were really quite beautiful photographs that just showed such humanity in people that I think really shallow people just can't really see right away. Just fantastic as an artist, even sometimes a musician, and a very just memorable person who loved everybody, and loved everybody who followed him, and started making everybody his honorary grandchildren.
Yeah, and that's really just... the sweetest thing you could think of for somebody to do, accepting that, what, you're all like grandchildren to me, and that touches a lot of people. And then, just to kind of wrap this up, you think about it, one of the biggest things, like we see here in the picture, the Vulcan salute, he tells stories about how he came up with that, of being a child and growing up in a Jewish, Yiddish household. He saw the Kohanim, the priests there at his synagogue, he kind of peeked out and saw them making this hand gesture while they're giving a blessing over the congregation there. So realize when you're doing that, live long and prosper, that quite literally is his way of extending a blessing out.
As he has said himself, imagine as people do this, they're actually blessing each other.
And I think that I can't think of a better legacy for a man to leave, that you've extended to the whole world the idea of the simplest blessing you could pass on to the next person. Mm-hmm. And so with that, I think that's a good place to leave it off on this segment, So, he did, and we all hope that the rest of us do, in fact, live long and prosper.
Absolutely.
Mr. Nimoy, you will be missed.
Thank you, sir. So I suppose we can move on.
Yeah, we got two other stories.
Completely different topics. We'll do more gaming related stuff. All right. And Rock Band is kind of right up my alley because if any of you know me to any capacity, you know that I'm a rhythm gamer and I'm a sucker for rhythm games in every shape and size. So I collected all the previous Rock Bands and got pretty much all the instruments. Played them mostly on Xbox 360. So now Harmonix has in fact confirmed that sometime this year, Rock Band 4 will indeed come out both on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One.
Yes.
Which is quite exciting because they've been just gone from the market since approximately 2010, 2011.
Give or take, yeah.
I mean, they were still releasing DLC for quite some time, but it was like a combination of Rock Band along with Activision's Guitar Hero slaughtered the rhythm game market for like half a decade in the US at least. In Japan, like there's never been a problem, but
but over here
in North America, it just died because it was overflooding the market with these rhythm games, and we didn't need another game released every year or every several handful of months, you know. But I really enjoyed them every single time, even from Lego Rock Band to Beatles Rock Band. Like, I really liked all of them.
Yeah.
But then again, I just really friggin' like rhythm games. So the idea is that Harmonix really intends to attempt to find a way to get the old instruments that worked with PS3 and Xbox 360.
Now, you still have a lot of those instruments. To
work with current generation consoles. And yeah, I still have both Rock Band and Guitar Hero guitars for Xbox 360. And the Guitar Hero guitars would actually work with Rock Band, which I thought was really, really cool. But there's an inherent problem as controllers of the previous gaming generation are not compatible with this current generation's consoles. So Harmonix is attempting to work with both Sony and Microsoft in order to get an adapter for each of these instruments.
That I find is friggin' cool. Like, no, we're actually trying to look to save you guys a little money. If you've still got your old instruments, you can just plug those in if we make this adapter.
The only problem is that, like, we got the PS4 and the Xbox One, like, all my instruments were for Xbox 360. So, kind of boned. Either I have to buy a whole new console, or I have to buy whole new instruments.
Uh-huh.
One of the two. So, I'm kind of boned, but you guys might benefit from this. And I just think it's really interesting because
maybe not so much as boned, because think about it, you know, Rock Band, you know, let's call a spade, it was oversaturated. It was everywhere. You know, it kept coming out with version after version after version. I can't think of a pawn shop, a Goodwill, or a thrift store you couldn't go to and find an Xbox compatible controller for Rock Band. Those are really easy to come upon. You could go to friggin' eBay right now and find those things. People are just trying to give them away.
At this point, though, might be careful, because now that this announcement's gone out, they might try and get a penny
you could still probably find some. I don't think it'll be that hard immediately.
Perhaps not. I just think it's really interesting, though. I was actually one of the people they had in their email list. They sent out a survey, and they've got even a promotional video about the behind the scenes of making Rock Band 4, which is gonna come out sometime this year. And in that video, they say, yeah, we emailed a bunch of people this survey, and I participated in the survey, and so I was like, are they thinking of releasing a new Rock Band? They wouldn't be sending out the survey if they weren't, right?
Yeah, I was reading over your shoulder when you got that email, and I'm like, what do you guys think you're gonna do? You can't do this again.
And
everybody's sick of it.
No, nobody was sick of it. They were sick of it 5 years ago.
Well, yeah, and that's why we were like, oh, it's gone, whatever.
But we're ready for it again. But part of that survey, of course, did include what would make you more eager to purchase a new copy of Rock Band, and some of the answers were like put them in a certain order, and one of them was capability of using old instruments, and I was like, drag to the top. And so they were like, oh, well, clearly people really want to use their old instruments, and they want to be able to import all the songs that they purchased as DLC into their new
Well, yeah, because you don't want to have to pay for that stuff over again. I've said that before when it comes to games. I'll say that when it comes to movies. If I paid for it once and it's still a legitimate, viable copy, I shouldn't have to pay for it again.
Well, their Harmonix is making that attempt to make your life easier.
Well, then, thank you,
So
Harmonix.
that's the idea. I mean, there's going to be a few exceptions, one of which is any additional DLC you purchased from Beatles Rock Band will not be able to be imported.
Well, that was the deal to begin with. You know, Beatles stuff was exclusive to that
Beatles.
copy.
Yeah, because... And no, like, I don't think they licensed any Beatles music for any of the other Rock Band games, because Beatles music is, like, friggin' expensive.
Yeah.
They don't want to pay for the license several times. So I think that's very good. There was something else I was going to mention about it. We don't really know when it's going to come out this year, but I'm very glad that they're talking about, oh yeah, we got this whole new engine for it, and I'm like, I don't really care about the engine.
Because really, do you need a new engine? All I have to do is watch the colors on screen and be like, click, 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 click. Well, I don't play
click,
lefty.
click, 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 click,
Yeah,
click,
click, click, click, click, click.
No, you're doing it all. Click. No. There you go.
Okay, click, 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 click. Yeah, and then.
Yeah, but you want to make a really awesome looking character, then you need, I don't know, the Unreal Engine to make...
Why would I need the Unreal Engine for Rock Band? I don't need it that hard.
To make a hardcore character that can, I don't know, also blow up his surroundings on stage. Breakaway stage...
a destructible environment.
A destructible environment in Rock Band is what I'm telling you. No, there's no proof of destructible.
If that ends up being a thing, my mind will be blown and I will owe you a Coke.
Oh, you'll owe me a Coke, huh?
Yeah.
So what else was I gonna bring up about this? Really excited that they're talking with Microsoft and Sony. I mean, there's no confirmation on whether or not they're gonna be able to allow the use of previous controllers. Really hoping that that's true so that I can get a hold of some PS3 controllers and just use them on the PS4. That was the other thing I was going to say. Because they oversaturated the market 5 years ago, they're concerned about doing that again because they themselves are really well aware that, like, oh, we killed ourselves. Oops.
Yeah.
So currently, there are no plans on making any further Rock Band games.
Like, we're just gonna focus on the one.
On the one, maybe add some DLC from time to time, and just focus on that.
And then we'll be good.
And we'll be good for a while. None of this yearly updated
Basically,
playlist.
they are not going to take their old playbook, or as I call it, the now 106, that's what I call music playbook. Because, like, that was the thing we were commenting on going through the electronic section at Walmart. You can go into the electronic section, be like, oh wait, I forgot to grab cereal, I'll be right back. Leave somebody, go to the grocery section, pick up your box of cereal, walk back to the electronic section, and there will be 2 more iterations of Now, that's what I call music, having released in the time you took to walk there and back. That's kind of the way people felt about Rock Band, like, well, I just turned around for 2 seconds and then there's another Rock Band out. I didn't...
Now, what would be horrible is if, say, Activision was like, oh man, Rock Band just got back in the game. We need another Guitar Hero, guys! How about another DJ Hero? Another DJ Hero? What? No, but... You mean people weren't playing DJ Hero?
Did you see what happened to Rocksmith? Thank you. Okay.
I'm just saying, if Activision starts trying to get back in the game after this, then we have a problem.
Then somebody else will kill it.
Yeah, and Activision, like, already did that cleanly. And their arcade version of Guitar Hero blows, and they only ever released the one, and they never updated the playlist or anything.
Yeah, it just kind of sucks.
So it's so bad. It's so bad, and that's how that industry died, and we will never get anything else like it again, which is very unfortunate because, hey, Guitar Freaks is a perfectly awesome game, but we can't have it over here because 2 companies decided to ruin it. So maybe they can fix it.
And this is why we can't have nice things.
Oh, maybe harmonics can fix it.
Well, maybe.
Maybe harmonics can fix it.
So who knows?
Alright, I guess we're done with Rock Band, so we will finish with NIMH. So...
Mrs. Bismarcky over here. So MGM has gone ahead and announced that they're going to remake... Now, it's weird that the story says remake Mrs. Frisby and the Rats of NIMH, when really they should say they're remaking The Secret of NIMH, which is actually, as you know very well, the 1982 Don Bluth movie.
Well, I don't even know that we should call it remake, because this is like the difference between Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Yeah.
Whereas one is based far more closely to its original novelization than the other. Originally, when Don Bluth was animating Secret of NIMH, which is notice that's a change in the title. Yes, I know the cat is in the way, but I'm gonna keep talking. Notice that that's a change in the title because they were not allowed to use the word frisbee at the time because frisbees were like a big thing. And like copyright
infringement,
so they
real
had to,
stupid.
So they had to change this particular little rat's name, or I think they even made them mice at the time. They had to change frisbee to Brisbee for one thing,
which I thought was friggin' stupid.
Yeah, so that's one thing. And then they also made. For example, what's the name of the wise rat? And now I'm forgetting him and his name. Blind one. Oh man, this is bad.
Nicodemus? No.
Yeah.
No, hold on. I thought I had this pulled up here. Give me a second.
I think you're right, actually.
No, Nicodemus, yeah.
Nicodemus. They made him much more magical and mystical than he actually was in the novelization. Some things about the endings are different and who dies and who doesn't. So... I think it will be interesting to see how this story is told, and just how closely it resembles the original novelization from 1971?
Yes.
71. I think that'll be really interesting. What I'm really scared of is that this is supposed to be combination live action, CG animation, and when do we know of that ever working?
Speed Racer.
It's not really the same thing.
I know it's not the same thing. You're talking about, live action.
I'm not talking about live action characters on a CG background.
I know.
I'm talking about live action background with CG characters in it. Interacting probably with live action human beings. Like
probably the closest you get is Avatar, but I don't think this is getting an Avatar budget anytime soon. MGM isn't rolling in that James Cameron money.
Oh, man.
So, you think about it, though.
Yeah, do they have a director attached?
Not as far as I'm aware. They just announced, hey, we're doing this, which, we get announcements like that all the time. Just that MGM has secured the rights, and they're looking to do it. Yeah, it sounds like they're going back to the original novelization and being like, you know what, this is what we're going to work with. And usually when you get the second movie, that's usually what you get, which is why you get Willy Wonka first, and then get Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. But even then, they changed a lot of stuff that happens in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the book versus the later movie. They changed stuff there.
Yeah,
so I don't... Really, nothing is sacred when you're adapting from, a book to television or a movie. So I imagine they're going to make more changes here now and make it a little more, like...
But it does say that... Michael Berg is the script writer for this, and Michael Berg wrote Ice Age 5,
yes.
Of which there should definitely not be 5 Ice Age movies.
Well,
definitely should not.
Tell that to DreamWorks.
I only ever saw Ice Age 2. I didn't even see the first one.
Yeah.
I just know that I saw one that had a voice of Queen Latifah in it. That's all I know.
That was the second one.
That was the second one. And so this concerns me greatly because no matter what, the novel is kind of dark. It's really not a kid's story.
Well, even then, the Don Bluth one wasn't all that sunshiny anyway.
No, like, I think people have this idea still ingrained in their brains, and this is mostly through animation, animation, and most common folk will think, oh, it's a cartoon, it's gonna be for children, but this crap ain't for kids, I'm telling you. Like, people die, like, this is kind of like Watership Down levels of things, are, like, animals look cute and fluffy, but they're dying, and there's blood, and there's fighting for territory, and the humans are getting them out of their territory, and it's not good. And I'm wondering how live-action CG hybrid is going to... I would only imagine this working if the rats were supposed to look like actual rats. You know?
Yeah.
Like, real rats. If they start looking like some Alvin and the Chipmunk crap, then we have a problem.
Yeah, I get that. But you think about it, and I know this goes without saying... Yeah, we've had some really bad updates. We've had some really bad remakes come through. I know this is something that's very dear and near to you, you know, being all the Don Bluth stuff. But as far as I can tell from my current seated position here, there is no way MGM will make a movie that's anywhere near as bad as Secret of NIMH 2 Timmy to the Rescue.
That was
and you
an
know
awful
that.
movie. What? Why did the lab light on fire? You remember that part, right?
Yes.
Like, it just suddenly...
Because I sat there and watched it with you before you did the thing.
Suddenly, inexplicably lit on fire. Nobody touched anything that was on fire. Timmy, why is the house burning down? What did you do?
Homer Simpson making cornflakes levels of stuff catching on fire for no reason. But it can't be that bad. Right? Right?
I don't know. I think you're underestimating writers of Ice Age working on such a potentially dark title.
Well, because honestly, if this thing is going to be bad, I don't think it's going to be that ridiculously we didn't think of a really good plot bad. I actually see it being more bad in the vein of... Now, understand what I mean when I say bad. Like, what Michael Bay did to the Turtles in this last movie with all the stuff in the lab... all the flashbacks with April, I imagine it looking more like that.
Well, like, yeah, you're right. That's not as bad as Timmy to the Rescue.
But I imagine that's more the vein where they're going.
Like, I'll probably groan at it.
Yeah.
And I'll probably walk out and be like, I am not fully satisfied. That will probably be my level of distaste.
Well, because the thing about it is, how can you be satisfied with something like this? I mean, maybe, you know, people are always making the comments about, oh, well, grimdark, that's the thing. That's why we got... you know, this Power Rangers fan film the way we did, because the director thought that's what we wanted. So with this, with a story that's already dark, and it's like, oh, well, this is pre-built for an audience that likes grimdark, here you go. And the thing about it, like some people are bringing up here in the comments, yeah, I can see it going really dark, but then they could screw it up and add, like, comedians' voices on top of it, which isn't all that different from what they did. You know, you had friggin' Dom DeLuise there as, what's-his-crow, and
yeah, that did sort of break all tension. I was kind of gonna bring up, oh man, Dom DeLuise can't come back. But then, like, well, I guess they needed one piece to still be the part that brings in the kids.
Yeah, and Jeremy, there you go.
Who then leave the theater sobbing.
Yeah. Well, okay, now if we can't get Dom DeLuise, it'll freaking be Gabriel Iglesias doing it. He'll be a fluffy crow.
A fluffy crow.
A fluffy crow. That'll appeal to the kids and bring them in. And then you'll get, like, friggin' Kate Blanchett doing the voice of Mrs. Brisby, like, oh dear, we have to get out of here. And it's gonna be real dark and dramatic and... oh god. What if it was CG hybrid live-action shaky cam?
Oh, please, no.
But you know they do it.
They probably would, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
That's awful. It's not even a real camera either because it's CG.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Oh, why did you have to go and say that? No.
I'm just calling them like I see them. You see it everywhere, you know, single camera, shaky. You're gonna see it like when the rats are running away down the, what is it, the sewer or whatever? I forget what it is exactly.
Well, when they're escaping from being test rats?
Yeah, that's where you're gonna get the shaky cam on the rats as they're being followed. You know, it's gonna be on their tails as they're running away, shaky cam, you know, flashlights going down like, hey, where'd they go? Catch them. You're gonna have the real dramatic, you know, music that, almost that Dark Knight-esque Hans Zimmer. And then the rats are running away. Like, that's the trailer, right? That's gonna be the trailer right there. I bet you anything, if they move ahead with this, that's gonna be an image you see in the trailer. I would almost bet money on that mess.
Oh, no. Please, no.
Yeah.
And I'm just kind of also thinking back to Secret of NIMH, though, and the way they animated the humans, which for the most part was rotoscoped humans, but
because,
like,
Don
Bluth loves rotoscoping, and so did Disney for quite some time, but like, man, those humans moved so human-like, and yet still looked like a cartoon. It's not the way that, for example, who else was I doing videos on? Did Fritz the Cat?
That wasn't Blue.
I know, yes, I'm comparing it to Don Bluth. In that they're... Ralph Bakshi. Why did I blank on Ralph Bakshi? What I'm trying to say is that their type of rotoscoping is completely and utterly different from one another. Where Bakshi rotoscopes, and they look like really kind of uncanny valley human beings, Don Bluth's human beings move like humans, but their animation still makes it clearly look like it's a cartoon, and I think it's beautiful, quite frankly.
Well, no, I get that, but I doubt you'll get anything even close to that now, because we're in a different age, we've got different technology.
Yeah, this is going to look completely and utterly different.
Most certainly, Bluth's not working on this.
No, not in the slightest, although I wonder what his feelings on it are, although at the same time, he's got to understand, well, it's not my license, really, technically.
Yeah, like, I did my time on it, 30 years ago? Or more
than 30 years ago.
Like, okay, how long is it? Wait, because that was
82.
92. So 92. 30 plus years ago now.
You couldn't count.
But no, look at that. That's a long time. Yeah, he whatever he had to say, it won't matter because. Yeah, this is going to MGM, and they'll source it out to whoever they want.
Isn't MGM the current holders of Secret of NIMH? I'm pretty sure they have the distribution rights to the first movie. Seriously, check it. It should be right there in that wiki article. Like,
let's see, MGM.
Yeah, MGM.
Yeah.
So that's why they're able to do it, because they've been holding the rights this entire time. Ah!
Well, there you go.
Okay. All right. I guess that's about it then.
Yes.
And that's a fair enough place to end it.
All right.
So thank you very much to you guys who've still been hanging out with us. And if you are still here with us right now, then congratulations! Yay, you're live with us and you get to do
Congratulations.
Congratulations. You won. You get to do another half an hour of Q&A time with us while we sit here and talk back and forth. We'll just have a conversation. It'll be a good time for those of you on YouTube.
Where are you?
Get over here on Thursday nights at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, and you can hang out with all the lovely people here in the chat room. Where you on screen, you're probably over here. You're somewhere.
You're out there, outside of where I can reach to.
Hang out with these guys over here, and you can also hang out with them and with us for that additional Q&A time. But if you can't get over there, you can always reach out to us on Twitter, and I'm at MarsGirl.
And I'm at Josh Knight First. And of course, that having been said, that's been this episode of Beyond the Black Rims. We will see you guys next week.
Good night.